everybody, so today is Monday and that means it's time for family movie night. We are looking at what in my neck of the woods is probably the most popular movie ever made. I joke that this script should be made another book of scripture. It is so often quoted amongst my Mormon friends and in my little world in Utah. And that is the film Rob Reiner's Princess Bride. And so this is kind of the I Ching. It's the big movie to talk about in family movie night, and I decided to conquer it now. And in my opinion, if I had to pick 3 movies for a desert island, Princess Bride would definitely be one of them, because it gives you so much of so many different things. It's got action, it's got sword fighting and defending the castle, and it's got villains and heroes and romance and humor. It's got a little bit of scares with the fire swamp, the rodents of usual size, based on the book by William Goldman, and it is one of the cases where I think the movie is actually better than the book. I think that the book is very cheeky and it's very self-aware. It's about in the movie, Peter Falk is telling a story to his grandson, played by Fred Savage, and they kind of interrupt the narrative with little commentary and asides and things like that. Well, in the book, they do that way more, but it's not the child and the grandfather, it's the author poking in with his little commentary and his little opinions, and I did not like that. I didn't think it worked at all. I found it really obnoxious, actually, in the book. But the movie, it kind of includes a little bit of that to give that flavor, but way better than in the book. But it is mostly just a really rousing, fun fairy tale put to the live action, and it's one that I think is so popular in the Mormon world because it's clean. It doesn't really have anything offensive, and so it's one that the whole family can watch together and have a really good time, and I think that is why it is so popular. It stars Carrie Elwes as Wesley, the Dread Pirate Roberts, and Robin Wright as Buttercup. And he's a farmhand and she is a girl that basically kind of orders him around, gives him to do different tasks and things. Well, it turns out they end up falling in love, and then he goes off to try to win his fortune on the sea. Well, his ship ends up getting taken over by the Dread Pirate Roberts, and who never takes any prisoners, and so they think that he is dead and they don't hear from him for a long time. Well, she ends up getting engaged to this prince named Prince Humperdinck. She doesn't want to be engaged to him, but he's the prince and he can become engaged to whomever he wants. At the beginning of the film, 3 bandits end up abducting Buttercup before the wedding. They are trying to get the prince and this town of Gilder to declare war on each other, and so they're going to frame Gilder in the abduction of Buttercup. They abduct her successfully, and yet there's this man there's this masked man who is following them. And there's a great sequence, a pretty long section of the film, where these 3 different bandits all face off against the masked man. The first one that faces him is Inigo Montoya, who is played by Mandy Patinkin, and he is a great swordsmith. He's a great fencer, and he's been training his whole life to get revenge on the 6-fingered man who killed his father because he wouldn't pay for the sword that his father had made for him. He wants revenge, and so he fights the masked man, and he ends up actually losing that fight. It's a great sequence, a great fight, it's one of the best swordsmanship fights, fencing scenes that I've seen in a movie. It's very exciting, it moves around, it changes, there's some humor in it, there's some witty banter between the 2 fighting. It's really, really fun. And then he moves on to the next member of the team, and that is Fezzik, who is a giant played by Andre the Giant, of course. And he has very sweet, likable, lovable kind of performance as Fezzik. And he's been hired basically as this brute squad by Vizzini, and he takes on the man in the mask, and he ends up actually getting defeated. And it's a really fun scene. You don't know really how it's going to go. And then the masked man goes on to face Vizzini in a battle of wits over some alcohol and some poisoning, and how it's gonna who's the smartest one who's the smartest of the two. Well, then it turns out that the man with the mask is actually Wesley from earlier in the film. And so, of course, Buttercup is delighted that he has returned, but they end up fleeing from Prince Humperdinck, who's following them, into the fire swamp, where they face a lot of scary things. Sand, there's quicksand, and there's ROUSs, rodents of unusual size. And this was a great thing about this movie, is there's just always something. There's something fun, something different. There's sword fights, and then there's fighting a giant, and then there's this battle of wits, which is very clever and some witty banter. And then you get the ROUSs, and you get the fire swamp, and then in this secret kind of lair, I guess, inside this tree, where he is getting tortured by this machine that sucks years out of your life. And there's this he's called the albino, who is working, he's sort of like a troll type character almost. And of course, Humperdinck is very jealous of Wesley and the love between Buttercup and Wesley. Turns out that Fezzik and Inigo Montoya remember the man with the mask, and Montoya finds out that the six-fingered man is in the castle, and so this is his opportunity to seek his revenge. And so they go and they find Wesley, but it turns out he has been kind of killed by Prince Humperdinck with this torture machine. Well, they end up going to a man named Miracle Max, who's played by Billy Crystal, and his wife, played by Carol Kane. And Miracle Max has a great grudge against Prince Humperdinck. And so when he finds out that their plan is to get back at Prince Humperdinck, they request a miracle. And the miracle is that they will have him go from being mostly dead to all dead. I mean, from being mostly dead to alive. If you're all dead, then there's no hope for you. But if you're mostly dead, then there's some hope for you. Billy Crystal is so funny in these scenes. He's hilarious. I guess a lot of what he did was improvised, ad-libbed. So funny. I love his lettuce, tomato, and mutton sandwich. That's really funny. And so there's lots of really good lines. And there's, of course, the classic scene when the wedding takes place between Prince Humperdinck and Buttercup, and the reverend or minister, whatever you want to call it, says, marriage is what brings us together. So funny. And the great scene I love between Inigo Montoya and the six-fingered man when he finally does get his revenge. I know that not everybody likes this movie, and that's totally cool, but the thing that a lot of people like about this movie is it combines so many different kinds of movies in one film. It's a swashbuckling adventure with a romance, with comedy, with scary moments, with great action as far as sword fighting and other action scenes. It's just a really entertaining all-around film. You've got Peter Falk as the grandpa. He's great. You've got incredible casting with Wallace Shawn as Vincenzi, Andre the Giant. You've got Mandy Patinkin as Inigo Montoya, the role he was born to play. You have Cary Elwes is perfect as this sort of almost silent movie type of star. He's so charismatic, he's so engaging. Robin White is beautiful and she's strong at the same time, so she's great as Buttercup. I think that Chris Sarandon is really great as Prince Humperdinck. Christopher Guest is great as the six-fingered man. Normally he does a lot of comedies. This is his one sort of villain role. Of course, I already said that Billy Crystal is hilarious, and so is Carol Kane in their small parts. And it's just an overall entertaining film, in my opinion. Like I said, it has a little something for everybody. And so I love it, personally. There are a few little flaws. Some of the special effects, particularly at the end, when they're jumping out of a window, that looks pretty cheesy. And I think that maybe the scene in the fire swamp goes on a little bit too long. And some of the Fred Savage is maybe a little bit annoying, but other than that, I love it. I think it's fabulous. I think it's a great adventure fairy tale, live action, and so yeah, let me know what you think of Princess Bride. Do you love it? Do you think it's way overrated? Whatever you think, put in the comments section below, and I'm surprised they've never done a remake of Princess Bride. It has so much nostalgia, so much love for it. You think it would be prime candidate for a remake. I'm curious, and if they were to do a remake, who would you cast as Wesley and who would you cast as Buttercup? Put in the comment section below, or maybe Inigo Montoya. Who would you cast? And thanks so much. Please subscribe to my channel, and I'll talk to you later. Bye!